This meeting is being recorded to the Town of Amherst cloud, and it will be uploaded to the YouTube channel for viewing by the public. This meeting is happening fully remotely due to suspension of certain open meeting laws by the governor. And at this time, I'd like to thank everyone for your service and turn things over to Tom.
Okay, thank you very much, Angela. Well, good evening, everyone. and- Okay, I try to.
Uh-oh.
Okay, here's a draft of the minutes. Are you able to see it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, they're pretty thin this time because, again, I forgot to set the record last time, and Angela had forgotten also. So just taking it from memory. So as we go through this, if you think of anything substantial that I've missed and you think should be there, just call it out and I'll amend it. So I think everybody was present last time. Okay, we approved the March minutes. And we did really two items of business. We worked on the update to the mission and policies document, and I took away, if not notes, at least verbal indications, oral indications of things to edit. I haven't gotten around to that, but I will for our next meeting. We spent a good part of the meeting talking about the percent for art at the elementary school. I tried to capture a few of the major conclusions or plans coming out of that. I think uppermost perhaps was that we're planning to make the pitch for the full amount. And to support that, we want to research some percent for art projects and present a selection of them at the May 19th meeting to give a range, a sense of the range of public art. I think at the meeting on the 5th, our next meeting, our last meeting before the 19th, it might be good to really settle on a handful of those and think them through, just what to show and what to say. I have to say I'm a little bit concerned that I only have costs for very few of them, and I don't really know how to get that number. They don't typically publish it. One thing I've been thinking about is maybe reaching out to the artist who is listed in each case and just sort of ask the question about, if we wanted to do something like that, how much of a budget should we set? I don't want to come out and ask them how much were you paid to do this, but I can't think of another way to get at the budget number for them. If anybody can think of anything, just do let me know.
Well, I'll just add that when I, sort of tried to research out art, sculptures, I didn't find a lot when I would look under like public schools, but I did find a fair amount on college campuses.
Yeah.
And
good.
so there may be somebody there who has an idea of,
Yeah. Mhm.
but for my thinking is that in the beginning part, it's sort of like, it's the concept
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
a sculpture versus something else.
Right.
And but do you think that the call and then you get as much as you can for the amount of money you have. I guess
Mhm.
you need to have a range kind of or something. Is that
Yeah.
why the cost is an important factor?
Well, I expect that council members will ask whether we present any cost numbers or not. Will ask us,
Mhm.
well, how much did these things cost people? Um,
Tom,
yeah,
I did some research on it because I was looking at some options for public schools, and there's 27 states that have them in the books, and we did not get it until 2014.
yeah,
And Deval Patrick said the minimum of 5%. So he said at 250,000. That's what he put in the it's public art order 553.
okay,
So
yeah,
it was not to exceed 250,000. But
okay.
that was the percent for art for Massachusetts.
Mhm.
But we are still not a member of the percent for art group of the 26 members states that are part of it.
Mhm.
So, and I don't know the difference there, but one of the things that I found was the best ones for schools were like public spaces of jungle gyms or that kind of artwork. Not a lot. I did not see any art of sculpture at schools through
Mhm.
percent of art projects. Even though I tried to look everywhere in the United States in all 26 states, I didn't find any sculptures.
Mhm. I
More,
have a few. I have a few.
yeah, the most that I found were scattered through Cambridge
Yeah.
and Boston.
Mhm. I found a few today that are in public parks, and that's a step away from what we're doing, but um, I'll send that information after the meetings. I'm putting it
Okay, was
together.
that through percent for art?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay,
Mhm.
because we want to get a grouping of them, right, to present.
Yeah. hmm Yeah. As part of our PowerPoint, I'd like to show several, and the council already has, as part of that document, part of that memo that Paul Bockelman sent them, he has a page of links to samples that I had gathered a
Right,
couple of months ago.
right.
So even if it's possible that one or two out of that grouping might be what we'd show. But I'd say, if we can find three or four,
Mm-hmm.
and, to go to Lynn's uh, suggestion, or the implication of what Lynn I thought was suggesting, we don't necessarily have to put the price number right there on that slide.
Right,
We can just concentrate on the concept and the quality,
right.
what we're
Okay.
looking at, and then
Is
come
it-
back to it if asked.
Is it important that the samples that we show are from percentage of art projects, or can they be? I mean, like I said, what I found, it didn't even occur to me to search under percentage for art. I just did, public art in
Yeah.
schools. I found
Yeah.
an organization called Americans for the Arts, and so I kind of went down
Yeah.
that path.
I don't think it's essential that it be percent for art.
Hmm.
I think the public art concept is good enough.
Okay.
And
I searched percent for art across
Yeah.
the country.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
so based on what Mikey's saying, it didn't give wonderful results.
No.
So I'm comfortable with it being a little bit wider.
Okay.
Yeah, I
And
guess what I would say is when I did put the, well, public art in public schools, I really came up with just murals.
yeah,
Right.
That's a lot.
Same here.
yeah,
I
that's,
I also spent quite a bit of time looking at the site plan. And so, and I can bring up a picture that I think that we could look at the site plan and identify us. I mean, I think the kind of sculpture, to have a substantial sculpture like we're sort of promoting, I think, to have it kind of located in the spot. And when you look at the plan, it has these two distinct entryways for the school, but they do come somewhat together. And it does make a focal point. And when you look at the map, when you look at the site plan, you can see that that they've just plopped a tree there because it's probably be an ornamental tree, but it's something that you would see coming from any direction. And it's also, it looks like there's a lot, like a plaza there. So it's it's an area of traffic exchange, I think, between the two openings of the school.
Yeah. Well, one of them is bound to be the entrance where the buses deposit the students. And so there's certainly going to be whichever one of those two that is going to see an awful lot of traffic.
I think you can tell by looking at the site, like Lynn's talking about, where they are planning to have the buses drop people off.
Yeah. Okay, let's
should we do this first?
well, hang on a second. Let's zoom through the minutes here and get those out of the way, and then we'll pull up the plans there. Okay, so but we are talking about the right things. I also wanted to put in here that we agreed that regardless of the amount of funding that's eventually decided, that we would recommend that there be a consultant.
And I did the looking into that like you asked me to do in the last meeting, and I've talked to 3 people in different ways about it, and I'll report about that later.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
Great.
Cool. Okay. Cost. Oh, and the next one here, the categories of costs behind the creation of a work of public art. That's going back originally to the document that Lori turned up for us. And I'm sort of tossing around in my own head the prospect that we would ask Lori to speak to that and, have her slide for it. Okay. Okay, then all right, then we're gonna do a PowerPoint, have that ready for the meeting. Okay, and then we agreed last time we'd each divide up and work on some areas of preparation, which we've done. All right, so those are my minutes.
I moved to accept the minutes.
I second.
Second, all approve?
Aye.
Oh, okay, boy, talk about the rubber stamp. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get down to business on the plans. So Lynn, do you have one? Do you have something at hand that you could put up and share?
Yeah, I do. I did a couple things. I did some screenshots from one from the plan from the PowerPoint, and then I did one. I took a screenshot from the video.
Okay, good.
Angles.
Yeah, go ahead. You should be able to share. I've turned on multiple user shares.
All right, let me see. Oh, I see. Okay.
Set. You stay, sweetie.
Is that working as a share?
I'm not seeing it. Maybe I have to take mine down. I'm gonna.
You have to take your, yeah.
Okay. Now try again, Lori.
Because it's asking me entire screen, so I'm gonna say yes to that. I guess.
Yes.
Open system settings. I think it's just asking my permission here. Oh, it just says that you can't record the contents of my screen. until it is quit. I don't know, I don't really want to quit.
Well, just go ahead. Just
Quit and reopen?
share.
Is that gonna be, you can choose to quit Zoom now or do it on your own later. I will do it later.
Yeah.
So now can you see my screen?
Nope.
I, let's see if there's another way to do it. Oh, wait, well, maybe this is working. I can,
Okay, there we go.
got it.
okay, so the first one that you're seeing here is, and, you know, we don't know how, you know, where they are with the site plans. These are still, you know, in revisions, but this is the bus entryway. And this would be where like parents would come in. And so what I'm suggesting is that something go right in this area where they've got a tree so that
Mm-hmm.
you
Mhm.
would, it would be very prominent from whatever direction you came in. Plus, I think if you were driving down the road here,
Mhm.
you would also see it.
Mhm.
So that's what I was suggesting. And then if looking at it from this direction, I mean, this is kind of where it is. So you can
Mhm.
see the cars and the buses are on the right-hand side.
Mhm.
So that would, this picture who's up right now is the one you would put on your PowerPoint?
Well, yeah, I think so. Or I would show both. You show, you know,
Right.
some
So,
people can see things from this view, but people can see things from this view.
right.
And to me, the way, part of the fact that they have, the architects or the landscape architects has left this so open makes me feel like
Mhm.
it's almost like a pass through. It's so open for people to have bikes. And so I feel
Mhm.
like this is kind of a focal point of the front of the building, even though it's kind of diagonal to the front.
Were you
Well,
able to, were you able to see something that let you know the size of that area?
Well, when I look at it here, this is large. This is a lot of
I know, but I mean, we
hard
need to,
surface.
I think to talk about it, you need to know the square footage of it.
Okay, well, that's, you know, that would be something to find out about. I mean, here's a car.
The
Um,
Right.
committee in charge, the town council committee in charge of the school all along, they should be able to give you that if you ask them for that.
uh-huh. I think that,
It sounds a lot better if you know how big that
you know,
is.
that's kind of how big that, it's like a plaza, really. You have the dimensions of that. I could find that out. And then my thought process would be that, you know, obviously actually getting back the size and whatever would be something that would be part of the call for proposals. We'd have the dimensions for that kind of once you do the price. And then what my thought would be to show a series of
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
what
Yep.
art might look like.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
I have you know, and I think Mickey, you probably have some too. So
Those
whatever.
are good. Those
we
are good.
found-
All three.
You know,
Those are all at colleges?
I think Dartmouth was, I wrote actually, if this one is in Chicago, this is actually I'd have to enlarge that one. This one was in Denver. Just,
I think that
this is actually in a
That's
school.
cool.
It's a gateway into a public, garden beds. They've got raised beds.
Yeah.
so it's good that all the ones that you have though are all 365-degree images that like you can look at what's made from every side
Yep.
and around
Right.
it.
Mhm.
Yep.
And that's
Oh,
real.
this is in Cambridge. It's a gate, they're calling it, it's a gate into the raised gardens.
Mhm.
So I don't know, this is kind of as far as I got, was going through.
This is great.
And this was another one that I think this one might have been, well, I'm not sure exactly, but I tried to find things that, I don't know, looked interesting to me and.
That
Mhm.
one's wonderful.
Yeah, I love
That
that.
one's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
the architects have done two favors for us in their renderings. One is that they they have left a lot of potential spaces, even though they've plugged trees into them. And the other is that the placement of the trees is strikes me as reflecting a judgment as to where things can go and not disrupt the flow. So we
Mhm.
don't get it.
Points.
If we say, hey, we want to take this tree out and put in a sculpture, they're not going to say, well, is there going to be enough room to walk around it? You know,
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like
that's
that.
kind of what my feeling was also.
Yeah. A couple other side notes on this. One is I was really struck when in the video of the 360-degree turn around the school that there are little garden beds, planter beds, and there are open spaces. So, you know what, if the sculpture did not go in that entry plaza, and I agree that is the prime place, if it didn't go there, it could conceivably go in lawn or
Mhm.
uh, or even included in a planter bed.
Right.
Yeah, I
Each
like
of the
that.
schools has a community garden.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And they use that food for the whole school system.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We get a lot of our vegetables from them at the high
I
school.
almost feel like it could be a three-tiered thing where you can have, the A thing is like a substantial sculpture that you could see from the
Yeah.
road that really is identifying. A B
Mhm.
is kind of something like a garden gate that goes into the,
Yeah.
something that enhances the environment.
Mhm.
It's a different kind of an experience. And then a mural is kind of an
Mhm.
interior thing and it kind of.
Yeah, Fort Rivers got lots of murals already. If anybody's been there lately, I've been there every day for the last month. But there's murals all over the place on the outside of the school. So it would be good for us to maybe go look at or each one of us go look at it just so we are aware of how much their artwork they've got on the outside of the building.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
in some ways, I feel like we're trying to sell the idea. I could take some pictures of the ones and we could include that in the PowerPoint. I mean, you kind of want to show the range or the scale
Yeah.
where you could be going.
I don't think that, but if we're gonna ask for the full $250,000, I don't know how much we need to emphasize a whole lot smaller projects.
Yeah, I can agree with
I
that.
mean, that would come next. If money's taken away from us, then we get
And another plan.
creative about how to make the most of the little that we got.
Mhm.
And I don't mean I mean the
Yeah.
project.
Yeah.
Right. But we
I think-
want we
Mhm.
want for sure want the person that's gonna support it,
Oh,
the one that Lori said.
so Mikey, I think that you probably were on the commission when Ellen Kiter was on the commission. No,
I
okay.
remember her.
Okay. Well, I talked to Alex Kennedy, who was the head of the Eric Carle Museum until recently, and asked her for some advice about people to talk to, because I think it's really important that the people be from Western Massachusetts.
Mhm.
Right.
I think that the town council cares about that. I think
Yeah.
that any
Yeah.
citizen who would ask that question and some of that. So I talked to Alex because she knows pretty much everything going on in the art world around here. And she suggested that I get in touch with Ellen Kiter, who was on the public art. Do you know her, Lynn? Or
The
you're,
name is really familiar to me, but I can't think of
I don't
where
know.
I heard
I
from.
maybe sort of Zoom met her, but I like briefly overlapped with her on the
Yeah.
Public Art Commission, but I didn't talk to her.
How's her name spelled?
Kay, wait. Let me get my act together here. Keiter.
Okay, thank you.
Ellen, Ellen.
Yeah. Mhm.
She is a consultant for art projects like these. And she lives here and she was on this commission, and Alex got in touch with her, asked her if she'd be interested in talking about it with us. And she said yes.
Okay, ooh,
I wrote to her today about just a general thing about what basically the overview of the project. And I'm waiting to hear back from her, and I will tell you all about that as soon as I get back
great, yeah.
with her. And the other person that Alex told me to get in touch with is somebody whose name is Nora Morales, who's just been
I
elected.
know Nora.
Oh,
And
good.
her husband used to be at the Chamber of Commerce or the BID,
Tony.
Tony Morales, and he's now at UMass. He got a fantastic job there.
And
So
he,
I don't know her personally,
yeah,
but she used to work at Eric Carl, I think.
I
And
don't
now
know.
it's in Springfield or in Worcester.
She was just hired. She was just hired to be the new person who runs fundraising for Mass MoCA.
Oh, wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
she's
She's
there.
phenomenal.
Yeah, and having a connection of that kind to a local museum is useful to us too. So I hope
yeah.
that she is interested. Her husband was certainly interested.
They're
Who-
both really good.
Great, and because I've talked to him about some other projects, and he's very positive,
Hmm.
and he wants really good things to
Yeah.
happen.
Right.
So that's a real bonus, because the hardest people to deal with for anybody is people who are like very negative to
Yeah.
begin with. And so you're working real hard to try to keep a spirit that you need up, and that can be difficult sometimes. But
Mhm.
anyway, I heard back from Tony.
Hmm.
I'm waiting to hear back from Nora.
Oh, good.
Okay,
So we've got at least a little bit of information, and I think it's good information. I trust those people. All of them have worked with other arts and businesses and different areas of different ways into the arts for people.
Mm, mm, mm,
So I was happy that they seemed real positive, everybody.
mm. Oh, great, great. Well, that's very, very welcome news about both of them. Thank you.
So what do I do next? If, say, they both are interested in being a part of something, how do we proceed?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that myself. The one possibility might be to ask them to do a Zoom call with a couple of us. And, and, that would be a chance for us to ask some questions as we're, to focus on the presentation that we're making, advice
Mm.
on what to present, how to present it. Um,
Okay.
I think any one of the three would be fantastic.
yeah.
Well, I think that Ellen is the one who is an official consultant,
Right.
and I don't, like I said, I don't really know her, but the recommendations that I've heard about her have been real good.
Right.
Mhm.
But Tony and Nora are really good.
I know.
Nora's helped out at the Pelham Historical Society when we need anything.
Uh-huh.
Because they live in Pelham, so. And then Tony's also helped out at the Amherst Historical when we have questions.
Yeah. Well, I think you probably know this, that Tony has been the leader in putting an outpost of UMass downtown.
Mhm. Yes.
I think, yeah.
Oh, right,
By-
the store. He did
By the
that.
way, at the, uh, I met the manager of of that store
Good.
at the Ancestral Bridges open house meeting that
Yeah.
last week. Had a very nice conversation with her. I'm going to go up and see her her place. I'm interested that they claim to be able to host events in the evenings
Yeah.
and such. So there may be a chance to explore down the road, explore with her, how her operation could have a hand in public art.
Well,
Just
Amherst
as any other interested business would.
right,
Yeah, Mikey?
Amherst Historical Society, we're opening a new venue on
Yeah.
the backside of Boltwood, to have for our exhibits, because our house
Cool.
during the construction is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
going to be accessible with the construction of the library, because they need a 25-foot clearance or variance to get their trucks through. So we found out that we wouldn't be able to have any exhibits in our museum.
Okay.
So we are renting, and there's a press release about it. I'm not sure if anybody saw it, about the vintage shop on the backside of the Boltwood Walk. So it looks at our portal gallery.
Eh,
It faces our portal gallery. I'm like, oh, I know that little building.
You can think
Okay.
about it a whole lot, you know?
Oh, we could see it nicely.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah,
the backside. Right now, it's the vintage
Uh-huh.
shop, but it's a great space. So
Mhm.
the Historical Society will be doing exhibits in that space,
Congratulations.
starting at the end of June. What?
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
Good.
really wonderful.
Okay.
Really wonderful. So, and Tom, you've talked to Liz, or not yet? Liz,
Liz?
Gigi?
No.
No, not yet. Okay.
She's the Historical Society?
Liz Larson is the executive director, and Gigi Barnhill is the president. And I also told Liz about the space in the town hall.
Okay, good.
she-
Yeah, I was going to ask you whether you had that conversation and I can just go in and talk with them.
Sure.
Okay, I'd be
Yep,
happy
I
to do
did.
that.
Well, I talked to Liz. I didn't talk to
Okay.
Gigi about it,
Okay,
but I did talk to Liz, and she's there every day.
okay, good. I'll do that. Okay. Mikey, what did you turn up since the last meeting?
I did not, I mean, I only looked for percent for art.
Yeah, okay.
And projects that were just for schools. And I only found the ones from the Cambridge, the same site
Okay.
you had. So
Mhm.
I did a full thing, and then I went
Mhm,
back
okay.
over and I went, you found that, you found that, you found all of them. And the only one that
Yeah.
I thought was anything good, and you have that list, right? That you put together?
Yes.
Okay, so the
Oh,
only
yeah.
one that I found that was really interesting was the playground, which is
Mhm.
something that, the school might go for,
Yeah.
if it's really well designed.
Yeah.
I would imagine they're already building a playground, aren't they?
I don't have any idea. That's always an afterthought. I know that they had to tear that one down,
I'd
the
be
really
shocked
good
if
one.
they don't have a plan for
Well,
that.
it's in the site plan.
It
Yeah.
is.
Whether
like
Built in
that.
stages or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it's usually something that they get the parents to fundraise for
Mm-hmm.
in the past. The one
Mhm.
that they used to have at Fort River that Tom's and my kids went to, the parents raised the money for it. So I don't know.
Maybe worth looking, and I'll do this too, is to do a search on playgrounds, somehow to see if there's a practice out there of doing high art concept.
I think maybe
Playground.
I think it'd be a good idea to find out if they have plans for one already in place or not first.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
who would have that information?
So that's out in the there's a ton of stuff on the project website. And I'll look through that too, because I spent a couple of hours one evening and downloaded hundreds of pages of stuff. And they have there are a number of versions of a line by line by line budget. And so that will tell us whether they've got it planned and funded.
Okay,
What I expect is that, like the percent for art, they just sort of left it as a line item to deal with later. But, as Dara is cautioning, they might have gone farther and already have something picked out. But so we
Thank
can,
you.
that would be something to ask. By the way, as part of what was my homework, I sent emails twice to Kathy Shane asking her to meet with us as she had offered to review the conversations and findings that the project group had had with the architect, and she hasn't responded. So I'm going to talk to Lynn Griesmer and ask her
Okay.
to lean on Kathy a bit. So I think we're getting, well, let's ask
Kathy's
for
been
help.
in, Kathy's been really involved in
Yeah,
the library for the last couple of weeks.
okay.
So she's been really busy,
She's busy on several big projects.
right?
To answer the question about the space that's available, like for that plaza area, is Kathy the person that you would go through to get that information from the architect?
Probably, and if we didn't, she'd be upset. So the question may be to ask her and then see what she does.
So Tom,
Yeah.
you were looking at all those hundreds of pages, did they have a specs with the design project?
For the playground?
No, just for the whole project.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, the specs should include a lot of information,
Hmm.
size and shape and length and height.
Where are
Yeah.
where are those documents? I mean, I might be able to find out the answer. Are those on the town website?
They're on the town website. If you, there's a whole web page or sub-site for this project, and then there are document archives that are linked there.
Okay,
But
I'll look there and see.
yeah, they do have specs and measurements for
And
things,
the
and
drawing
they
should be
also,
to scale. That's what I
yeah,
should be able to figure it
yeah,
out. At
yeah.
scale.
Well, if push comes to shove, if we can't get exact measurements for something, I think there are enough measurements there that we could estimate.
Yeah.
And I mean, after all, we're just doing a talking
Mhm.
exploration, not engineering it. But also, I noticed in a lot of the interior renderings that there is sample art up on the walls in some places, including, it's just like clip art or, just filler.
Yeah.
There. I'm sure it's not intended
No.
to represent what will be there, but just gives the idea. So for example, in the library, and I'll dig this up and send it. I think it's in either the library or the cafeteria. There's a tall ceiling in the room. And so the top 15 feet or so across the whole wall is a big, space screaming out for some mural or something. Yeah.
I love murals, by the way. It's just funny that that's like the backup,
Yeah. Yeah.
because there's so many different other visual arts that can take
Yeah.
up space.
Hmm. I saw one today that I just loved.
Uh-huh.
It was from one of the seacoast towns in Connecticut, I think. So it was fish themed, but there were these really nice. I'll send you the pictures and the link to it. But there are these representations, these sculptural dolphins, sort of in metal frame, and it's like they're swimming through the hallways
Oh, yeah.
of the building. And I thought, well, maybe we'll do birds, something we do actually have up here. Okay. Let's see what else in the way of um, homework here that we were doing. Um,
I
um,
actually had one of the
yeah.
things I had wanted to do that I haven't been able to figure out quite how to do it was to get a sense of how much the public uses Fort River School. And I wanted to see if they had a calendar of events there, but
Oh, yeah.
I just found a school calendar, so I didn't really find what I was looking for.
Well, I know that when our kids were growing up, they had soccer games there. All the fields were taken by soccer.
In baseball, I know they have
And
baseball.
baseball, and in the winter, it's basketball, a lot of basketball games. That's where we vote,
Yeah.
in the gym. And it
There's
used to be in the music rooms.
Legal
Mhm.
Women Voters, that's their bookstore.
This is a
Yeah.
great list of all the
Yeah,
different.
book sale,
places.
book
It's really good.
sale for,
The books, the scholastic sales. Um,
oh,
there-
was it League of Women Voters in July?
right,
They would set up in the gym,
for the big book sale.
big book sale. Um, but you reminded me, I talked with John Page at the bid, and he's promised me a set of statistics on, uh, the dollar value of the arts in tourism, et cetera, to the
Oh,
town.
good.
Yeah.
But we also, at Lori's, I think it was Lori's suggestion last time, should do some, look up what the capacity of the school is planned to be in terms of number of students.
Mhm.
Little back of the napkin arithmetic to figure out how many students will go through the school in 50 years.
Well, I do know that they're going to consolidate Fort River and Wildwood into one school, and it's going to be K through 5. Sixth grade has to move to
Right.
the middle school.
Right, right.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's
I figured
almost doubling in
somewhere in
size.
the somewhere in the architectural plans, there must be a mention of what they estimate the
Population.
capacity to be.
Right.
Well, I'll see if I can if I get into the plans, I'll look for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you could talk to somebody in the Fort River office who
Mhm.
manages public events
Mhm.
at the school, separate from the school's main mission.
That might
Yeah.
be at the Family Center in the middle school. The Family Center runs a lot of that stuff, and they're based out of the middle school school offices.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to follow up on the suggestion to go visit with my camera at Fort River.
Good
Well,
idea.
And
well, if you'd like to
I'll go
know,
to the office and introduce myself. And introduce myself and explain what I'm doing and see what they'll volunteer also. But the family center at the middle school, I can see them
Right.
too.
I think Marta Guarva, she might run that. I'm not positive.
Okay.
But at Fort River, the cranes are there, and I've been on the van with little kids for the
Mhm.
last month, and we drop off kids at
Mhm.
Fort River. So we look at the cranes every morning, and the kids talk about how big each of the trucks are and all of that.
Mhm.
But they've been building right along. They're working hard.
Mhm.
That building's huge, very high. Very high. So it's fun. It's fun for the kids to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They all want to watch and sit on the trucks. Can we go see the trucks?
Hmm. 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 Yeah, it would be. I know one of the things my mother always advocated was that the public schools sit unused evenings, weekends, summer, and why can't the town, this was back in New York, why can't the town work out something where they can put programming in there? Now that's not a fight we're gonna start here,
No.
but one thing that would be helpful, and this is the gist of the conversation we're having now, is if we can get a handle on how many of the Amherst residents would have some other reason to go onto the school grounds and see these things.
Right.
And I mean, just before, when you all were throwing out different names of things that have gone on there, that was a great start.
Yeah,
You know? And
Yeah.
was there a winter farmers market in one of the schools?
Middle school. That
Middle
goes on in the middle school. And right now in the high school, middle school, and one of the elementary schools, and I'm not sure which, there's an early morning group. And they do basketball in the wintertime with the kids and weightlifting and all these other sports that I think are 5th grade through 12th grade. So in each of the different schools at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
So would you all send me an email with just what you know already? And then
Sure.
I'll
Yeah.
get on the phone and I'll do some work
Yeah.
to try to keep
Okay.
adding to that to make that a serious component of our
Right.
knowledge.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
let each individually do that, send it to the group.
That'd be great.
Well, I know the police department does one of the groups at the high school.
Mhm.
Because maybe it's on a Thursday. This past Thursday, I saw all these police cars there at 6 in the morning and
Mm,
got worried and found
Yeah.
out it was the group that's working with the kids.
yeah, yeah. I think traditionally, I'm going out on a limb here, but I think traditionally the thinking about elementary schools was sort of to keep the public in general away, for perceived safety reasons. I think that's always been a little bit I think back to my own high school, and that was a very different attitude, that more people would come in for more reasons, organized events. That was what I'm talking about there. But yeah, and I don't know, going back to something I think you mentioned, Lynn, I don't know how visible the new building is going to be from the street. If you drive by now, there's a row of houses on the street. So at best, you're sort of peeking between them. So it's not like there's an open view to the street. Is there, Mikey?
So the old entrance to Fort River is now closed off and it's the construction, but
Yeah.
that's where it's gonna be. That's gonna be the new entrance. And then, if Lynn pulled up that, rendering again,
okay.
that parking lot that you see is the old parking lot and they're keeping that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see
So
if I can-
that's, they're not getting rid of that. Where all the, people park, not the buses, but the people.
Yeah.
So that will be, so over to the left, that long parking lot and the drive out,
Yeah,
that's the original parking lot. And that's the school where you see the sort of, nope, the other one. So if you go by the parking
this
lot,
is the old school.
that's the old school, right?
Okay.
And that will be, fields.
Yeah. Now, if
And this is,
the
So that's gonna still be the drive in.
Yeah, but
And right
see-
now it's the construction.
Yeah, East Street runs from where the P is right down the margin
Right,
of
right
this.
here.
And what
Right
the
there.
architects left out is that on
Okay.
the right side, as we're looking at it, of East Street, there are houses, except for the open
Here.
here.
right there.
Yeah, so people driving by will have a view into the fields here.
Here they'll
But I don't-
see, have
I
a
don't-
view, I think.
No, that's right, Lynn. So right where you're putting your thing, they'll
Yeah.
have a view into the school there.
Just from here.
Right,
That's why I was saying this, that's why this to me seems like an ideal location for, so
Right.
if you want to
Agreed.
have ability.
Mhm.
And
Right.
here's what they've shown here.
those
for-
are basketball courts.
Yeah, and this might be raised beds or something for,
Right. So that would be seen
and
too.
maybe
That
this
would
is
be good.
identified as a playground area.
Right. Can that get closer at all, or can you make it bigger?
Bigger? Let's see.
Yeah. Because then it could,
Let me see. Oh, that's
Yeah.
bigger.
right.
I'm not sure what this little thing is here. That must be an existing thing. Utility or something.
Right. That's probably, I don't know. I have no idea.
Design.
I think baseball diamonds are gonna go, as we're saying, soccer and, oh, here's a baseball.
Soccer. Oh
For
boy,
soccer
they
and
used it for,
baseball.
they used those fields for every sport, soccer, adult baseball, slow pitch baseball, and, yeah, all of it's gone this year because they're building the building and the other building's got, there's nothing now. But, that's always been used. All that land.
So I have a question for you, Tom. So the
Thank
next
you.
town council meeting is April 28th.
Yes, but we're not on the agenda for
We're not
that.
on that agenda
Ours is the 19th
of May.
of
Mhm.
May.
Yeah.
So we have, I just wanted to check this with everyone because I'd lost written track of this, but I believe we had agreed that we would meet again in 2 weeks on Monday, the 5th.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, uh, and by the way, when I was at the Ancestral Bridges reception, um, and saw Lynn Griesmer, and she said to me, see you on the 5th. And afterwards I thought, wait a minute, what's that? As I forget something. And no, I wrote to her today and she said, oh no, I was thinking of the 19th. And I said to her, um, we would, I'd like the opportunity to caucus with you before the 19th. And she said, yeah, we can do that. So I think it'd be nice if a couple of us could have either a Zoom with her or see her in person at town hall or something.
But
So excuse me,
when would that be?
sometime between now and May 19th, closer to, maybe not immediately, when we have a better idea, when we have a more detailed idea of what we're going to present.
So if we're meeting in 2 weeks, so that's May 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what if Ellen Kiter would agree to meet with us?
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see.
Are we planning on having that handout that we worked on for the town council to have like a week before we meet? So we can just send it out to them just for a preview or background information on the
Yes,
council,
yes,
from the commission?
yes. Hmm. But I had hoped to have that revised so that we could sign off on it today, but I'll kick that ahead to the next meeting. But yes, I would like very much to have
You
that.
don't have, you wouldn't have to include much of a background in the
No.
presentation. You could just,
Right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. I can make that pitch to Paul Bockelman too. When I ask, because I wouldn't do anything with our document without him seeing it and
Mhm.
having a chance to say whatever he wanted to say. But I can make the pitch that, hey, this will save us some time in that meeting since the counselors are, probably not closely informed as to who we are, what we do.
Mhm.
But my thought in having a conversation with Lynn Griesmer would be just to let her know the shape of what we're planning to do at the meeting. I want to be careful about that, and I don't want to get overly clever or political about it. But I think when the chair of a meeting knows what the participants are planning to present, I think that's always helpful.
Do you want me to take the outline that Lori put together and try to edit that down into a PowerPoint format?
That
'Cause at
would be
some point, We're
wonderful.
gonna have to do that.
Yeah, yeah, if
That'd be
you're willing to do that, that's fabulous. Yeah,
And
Okay.
try to make it a lot shorter than it is, please.
Yeah, so
I mean, I appreciate the detail and I appreciate the thoroughness of a lot of it, but it's more, as they say, granular than
yeah, so
useful to talk about it.
at a guess, I would say no more than 5 slides.
we'd want to include some images, but they could
Yeah.
be on one page.
That's right.
So let me take a stab at that for the next meeting.
Yeah.
And then we
Oh,
can,
I wouldn't,
Thank
would
you,
also-
Lynn.
I would also think it would be okay to make full size, images, full page, full PowerPoint page images and not count those as part of the
Okay.
5.
about the text, because
The
I think,
five
think
of
we-
text, text content.
I
And
think we'd like to have a site plan as a page to
Mhm.
orient people. I mean, you need the context of everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that'd be very helpful to have drafted up for us. That'd be great. And
And
do remember that let's give Lori a page where she can run through, all those components. I think in that case it is worth getting more granular because we want to make the case, as we've said here a number of times, that if you allocate 250, 100, or 50,000, it has to include a lot more than just
I think that's good. And even if we do it in percentages,
yeah, that's fine.
we have an
That's fine.
example and we
Yeah.
can extrapolate from that what the
That's
percentage.
better. That'll keep us out of getting into money haggling. Using percentages. Mhm.
So what's the philosophical angle of this in your minds in terms of how you make a case for the
Mhm.
full amount being the out of the gate first time Amherst town
Yeah.
does this, honors this, and makes it be part of an expectation of a commitment to public art at a raised level than it's been able to be before.
Yeah, I think that's the
Almost
heart of
exactly
it.
what I think.
That's the heart of it.
So I think that's one thing we need to practice.
Right.
Yeah, we
But we're
do.
gonna have to do it again
Yeah.
for the library.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we probably are gonna have to do it again for the library, and that's exciting,
Right,
you know,
Mhm.
'cause that's a
Yeah.
visible spot
right.
Yeah.
And you
I
have a
think-
historic place right next door.
right next door.
Yep.
Mhm.
Everybody thinks that the library owns it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
No, and the cinema is right there. It's a really
Right.
nice spot.
Well,
Got
I
great
mean,
park-
it's possible you can use that to our advantage by saying the fact that there's this other project down the road. We
Mhm.
need, we
Yeah,
want to set a
that's-
precedent
Yeah.
here.
Good point. No, and it's really true. You know,
Okay,
it's
point.
symbolic. The first time
Mm.
you do it, it's a big symbol of how you're gonna treat this
right.
Mhm.
Okay,
and what you're gonna do.
does anybody, now the library is not part of the percent for art.
Oh, really?
It's not counted in there.
Oh, because it's privately owned.
Because it's privately owned. Now,
Right.
one thing to check is, do they have a public art line item anyway?
Right.
Which would keep our thinking afloat here. But I do think we should make the case, that the bylaw, which was carefully considered and overwhelmingly passed, calls for 0.5% and the And this is the first run through. We want to get it right, et cetera, set a high standard. But also keep in mind, please, that when Lori and I were at that last council meeting, after Kathy's motion to cap it at 100, the reaction of several of the other councilors was, wait a minute. We want to hear what the possibilities are. We want to understand this more. So my view is we're doing honor to that line of questions. Now, I had a note from Paul Bockelman when I think I shared it with you when I asked, it's an email I forwarded. When I'd asked to have a meeting with him, he sort of reminded me that what he wanted was for us to bring forward, a proposed price for this. It would be, so I'm trying to walk the
0.5%.
line. There's a price.
Yeah,
And-
you could, I don't know, you could present the price as here's a scenario of what a price can be, but without knowing what.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did they talk about, or so much of this is really vague.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're trying to be really clear and specific and plan well, and that's important.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to know, I have so many questions, such as, has anybody talked about the town of Amherst hosting a competition for this art at that high an amount of money?
I think what's happened is that there's kind of a watershed that we haven't gotten to yet. And how we would solicit the art, everybody's been thinking, oh, we'll deal with that later. Now, the golden opportunity is that we are the ones designated by the bylaw to come up with what happens once we've got our budget.
I mean, one of the reasons I'd like, excuse me, Lynn, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that it's possible, we could do the presentation and then in the next steps, one of the next steps would be to make decisions about, I like the idea of a competition,
I love
you
it.
do a competition, do you, what are, and that
Well,
people
if you
could get
want to be in
excited
the
about.
news, you want it to be news,
Yeah,
Mhm.
because this is the first time, it's a significant amount of money.
yeah, develop PR around it.
And to have a competition would make it open in a way that, the way we've been talking lately, not through any fault of our own, but just because it's so vague.
Mhm.
A
Yeah.
little bitty idea can come from it, but we don't know, if you do a competition and it's serious competition and you advertise it in all the right places, and that's not hard. And that's why
Yeah.
some connected to
Yeah.
Mount Mocha is a really good connection to have. And then, we get to be surprised
Yeah. Yeah.
by how wonderful something might turn out to be that we never would have imagined.
Well, I think that's your thinking there is in line with a couple of the questions that the counselors asked, to which what you just said would be the answer. And that the sense of their question or their comments was, hold it. We don't want to miss the
Right.
opportunity to have something
That's
really
right.
nice.
Another
Yeah.
person to talk to might be John Bechtold, who is runs the theater at Amherst High School, but he's been also working for Mass MoCA for the last
Mm.
6 months, and he's doing a big project for the 250th with the town.
I know him. He's very positive too, and really,
Right,
really
he's
hard
really
worker.
good.
Yeah.
But he knows all the ins and outs. He knows what's going on in the school. He knows what's going
Yeah.
on in the town. He's very involved with Mass MoCA and creating
Mhm.
all sorts of,
Mhm.
I don't know what, but he did something at the Historical Society last year.
But he's at the high
associated.
school, right?
Pardon me?
Is he at the high school?
Yes, John Bechtold.
Yeah, and how to spell his last name for me, please.
Oh, boy, I don't know. I'm terrible at spelling.
That's
B,
okay. Never
I
mind.
think it's Bechdtold.
B-
Beck,
Yeah, yeah, maybe an H in there, but that's close.
yeah,
Actually,
Bechdtold.
I feel like my kids know him from a long time ago, and I'll
Mm.
find out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
So
really
I'm
good,
gonna
and he's
talk to him.
very involved.
Mhm.
That would be great.
Yeah.
But now here's another little point that I've been mulling over and will bring out and bang on if it seems useful or necessary at some point, which was that if you go back in the bylaw, the project people were supposed to notify us much, much earlier.
Oh, yeah.
We were supposed to have a foot in the door before all these plans got made. And we didn't have that opportunity. So um, we're at a bit of a disadvantage
Hmm.
on things like, the site, the um, just the integration of the art into the architecture. We
Mhm.
missed out on that. We were not included there. And that's also going to play, in my view, into our argument, if it comes down to an argument over needing a consultant,
Uh-huh.
because we're not taking the view that we're going to slap a piece of art in place here.
No. Well, so maybe we can think about these things that have all come up now at the end of
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
and
yeah.
Each write a little something that includes something about the the zeitgeist that we're producing.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
and I think that would give us a start for some language and some coherent, combined,
Yeah,
collaborative kind of
yeah.
thinking about what we want to begin to say to them.
Mhm. What I foresee for the 19th is that, you know, there'd be several of us, whoever's free, available, and wants to be there for sure. And that we would present as a panel. So we each have different pieces, but we're all closely thought out and
Well, I think
rehearsed.
we need the outline of that panel,
We need the outline.
and
We
we
don't
need
want to get
it
picked
now.
apart. We don't want to get picked apart.
Need it so that we'll know what pieces to put in it.
Yes, that's right.
And I, I mean, I think spontaneous talking about things is great, but I also think when you're making a presentation to a town body,
Yes,
some preparation is gonna
very
really,
different task.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, how long do we have to open our presentation? How long is that? How many
Well,
pieces?
that I'm going to bring up with Lynn Griesmer, because
Okay,
I don't want to arrive there and find that they've given us 15 minutes.
well, if they've given you 15 minutes, so then we have to make a presentation that fits into it.
Right, right. I don't want to be
So we
surprised,
gotta know.
be ill prepared because the timing wasn't what we presumed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that makes a big difference in terms of how you start a conversation
Hmm.
by having at least put it out there that you have tried to do your homework, given the amount of time you've had to do
Yes,
it and
yes.
the vagueness of our charge.
Mhm. I think we can easily demonstrate that we've been very thoughtful and have put in the work.
Yeah, that's
And
important.
we can do that. We'll do that through the PowerPoint, but even more importantly, through how well we are individually and collectively prepared, all the things we've thought about, the sort of fallback or fill in information that
Yeah,
we've got at hand, and our
yeah,
ability to answer the questions about, well, what did you look at? How widely did you look? What did you find? What's your sense of,
yeah.
you know,
And try to anticipate some of the questions
yep, mm-hmm,
I think you're doing right now.
right, right.
And And what's the order of the presentation?
Yeah,
What's the best?
yeah. Let's all noodle on that. I'm going to say that I think somebody we want somebody to lead with the philosophy, is to put a term on it, the zeitgeist there. I'm not sure what the next piece would be. It wouldn't be the Lori piece, but it may be what the Lynn piece here, looking at the places on the ground or in the and in the building, and showing them some pictures and ideas, uh, get them thinking a little more concretely about what it could look like.
Mhm.
I think the few slides you showed us, Lynn, a couple of them are very, very
Yeah.
inspiring and
Yeah.
exciting looking.
Yeah.
And if just that being out there
Mhm.
help people mightily to
Yeah, I think visualization is really helpful.
Yes. Yes.
especially because at least two of them are really inspiring and good.
Yes. Hmm.
And
Mhm.
I think we can probably find a couple more.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, Mickey, if you have some you want to send me, I can.
Yeah, there's the Cambridge one of the playground, but that's on the list of that Tom already sent, and I found the same one.
Yeah.
I was very specifically looking for ones a percent through art for art
Mhm.
through at schools, and there's so few.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
so few.
That's what there are like 26 states that do it.
26 states, and I found two.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that Massachusetts, under, was it
Cambridge.
Charlie Smith, who was the last Republican governor? He
Um,
rescinded he rescinded a percent for art
Oh, really?
decree or law.
Deval
And
Baker was
Oh,
the one
Baker was the
Baker,
last.
started
yeah.
it. And
And Minnesota, when they swung Republican, I don't know, 10 years ago or whenever it was, beginning of the Trump era, um, one of the first things the governor did was kill the percent for art.
Mhm.
So I think there's been some rollback, but I think it's been sort of where you'd expect it on the political spectrum.
Well-
Just a question about putting together a PowerPoint. Do you think that within that you want to show interior sites as well as exterior, or do we want to just focus on something outside?
I would say let's show some interior, because again, we don't want to be caught short and somebody say, well, did you consider inside the building?
Mhm.
Even though
I mean, is there any place inside the building that would accommodate something as ambitious
Not
as you're
sculpture,
talking about?
not sculpture. And I
Just-
think we would quickly get into dimensions and clearances, ability for people to walk. Yeah, I think that would be a rocky one, whereas doing it outside,
a mobile or something. I
Yeah.
don't know if the ceilings are high, but
yeah,
that's the kind of thing you might see in
that would
the.
be one to look for, because one of the nice ones I found today was a ceiling suspended sculptural array done in Lexan, a kind of plastic. Very pretty, very, very pretty.
Well,
Hmm.
maybe you could
But
send
you
me.
need a high ceiling for it.
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of airports lately and they excel at putting things above you.
Yeah, yeah.
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 Okay. This was really good. I'll be in touch with Lori. I sent her an email uh, asking some questions just this afternoon. I think as of next week, she'll be back and available.
So are we gonna ask Ellen, Dara, are you gonna ask Ellen to come to the May 5th meeting?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, and if for some reason she is already busy, maybe I'll ask Tony
Tony would be good.
to come.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
any one of them would give
Yep.
us outside view that would
Mhm.
help us organize those last couple, not just couple, many steps that we have still to take.
Yeah.
right. Maybe they've done this before.
And
Well,
or been
Maybe they can
involved.
point out things to us that we haven't occurred to us too,
Sure,
especially in sort of
Probably
the
quite a bit.
government process standpoint.
I'm sure that's all true. And I'm gonna also hope to get from you all your short list
Yeah.
of public events other than schooling that can go on in public school.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I'll put that all together.
Okay, great.
So I'll do those two things.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Second? Okay, vote.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay,
Aye.
we're through.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
everybody.
Thank you very much.
I'm trying to leave.